Hi class. So for today, we will be discussing our first topic sa ating SS01, Understanding Culture, Society, and Politics. This time, we'll focus on looking back at human, biocultural, and social evolution. The idea is we'll try to gain an understanding on paano tayo nakarating sa puntong ito. So, as we try to fully grasp what is happening to us, we need to understand that before we even become the humans that we know of right now, ay makaganapan sa kasaysayan na nagbigay ng rason kung paano at bakit tayo nakarating sa puntong ito. So, our objectives includes tracing the origins of culture, discussing human capacity for culture, describing the role of culture in human adaptation, discussing processes involved in cultural and socio-political evolution, and identifying different views on socio-political evolution. However, for this discussion, we'll mainly discuss on the importance of culture as a key aspect and the social development, or rather in the social development or societal development of human and society at large. So, take a look back. So, ito yung image. So, the idea is, or the question here, how does the community changed over the years? This first image shows yung EDSA. So, Highway 54 pa siya before, late in the 50s. Ito, QC, National Cemetery, McKinley Road, Taguig, then Buendia. And this one, in the late 90s, late 80s to early 90s. So, Mother Ignacia, Dagkahamla, ito yung Robinsons. Somewhere dyan, hindi ko sure kung nandiyan yung Mega Mall, but that's the idea. Ito yung Robinsons Tower. So, the idea is, ito yung mga larawan ng EDSA. If you've been to EDSA last year, nakakalabas pa kayo. Ngayon, ito na yung familiar na site. So, in the late 2010s or even siguro last year itong photo to, makikita niya napakadaming pagbabago. Kung before, there's barely any concrete road or concrete jungle. Ngayon, halos isang malaking concrete jungle ng Metro Manila. Community had undergone so many changes. This one, SLEX in the late 90s, nung kabubukas pa lang niya, nagkakamali. So, yan, Tall Boots to Alabang. Then, this one is SLEX, late 2010s. Nagkakamali last year din itong photo ito. So, yan, papuntang Alabang. So many changes. Then, ito, kung kayo ay nagawi na sa Kalamba, well, sadly, wala akong nahanap na actual image nung wala pa yung SM City Kalamba. But, ito yung pinaka nahanap ko, 2009 photo nung nagtayo ng harang dun sa dating Yamali wet market yung area, tsaka parang damuhan. Tinayo yung SM. Or doon itinayo yung SM. Then, ito na yung SM City Calamba na alam natin ngayon. Again, kayo, siguro, isipin nyo, try nyo balikan yung mga alaala ninyo bilang students or bilang mga, siguro nung elementary kayo, ano yung mga nagbago sa inyong barangay, sa inyong subdivision, sa inyong area, sa mga lugar na pinupuntahan nyo. And try nyo pagnilayan ano yung mga naging changes. Bakit kayo nagkaroon ng changes? Ano yung mga bagay na natatandaan nyo before dun sa area na yun na ngayon wala na? Because in our community, in our society, one thing that's clear to happen, process to happen is change. It's something that's dynamic and part of our everyday lives. Going back. So ito, pakihanap itong dito yung link. Ito yung link. kayo panood itong video, ito yung 2009 video, makikita nyo. June 21, 2009 video sharing um, an individuals, I think it's a parang balikbayan na nag-travel siya mula SLEX papuntang Kalamba. So ito yung pinaka in-screenshot ko na photo kasi kung makikita nyo dito, kung nakadaan na kayo sa may tulay, pa Kalamba exit, hopefully no, lahat kayo nakadaan na dun. Ngayon siya at least 3 lanes. 3 lanes. Rightmost, express lane, middle lane, tsaka rightmost lane. Ngayon, or before, dito sa image ito, 2009, way back in 2009, wala pa yata yung pangatlong daan, pangatlong lane. So dito, makikita nyo na ginagawa pa lang or dinadagdag pa lang yung extension or expansion ng tulay way back in 2009. Okay? So, try nyo panoodin. Medyo nostalgic, lalo kung nakapunta na kayo ng Kalamba. Sorry, Kalamba yung ginagamit kong example kasi ito yung familiar sa akin. At kung makita nyo itong video na to, 3 minutes lang yan, makikita nyo na ang daming nagbago. Sobrang daming naging changes over the past 10 years dito sa lugar na ito. So, societies are said to have evolved as human beings learn to adapt to the environment. The main reason that societies, communities, society at large evolved or developed is mainly due to humans being able to adapt to their surroundings. Hindi siya isang snap na process, but it took them thousands of years, hundreds of and thousands of years to fully accustom themselves sa kanilang environment. Social evolution went hand in hand with the process of socialization and interaction, which mainly it's categorized into 3 types. So, the biological, cultural, and technological evolution. Ito yung 3 types of societal evolution na magiging focus ng discussion natin. Ayan. So, first and foremost, biological evolution. It's the process whereby organisms undergo various genetic and physical changes that pave way for biological diversity. So, biological or genetic evolution occurs through genetic variation and reproduction and involves the transfer of genes from one generation to the next. It continues to influence how people live and interact with other members of society, from smaller groups to larger groups. The idea of biological evolution is that our evolution can be traced to our genetic and physical changes that took place or happened to humans as they progress through their lives. So, for example, para mas madaling maintindihan, the differences in shapes and features of indigenous populations living in contrasting climates and environmental conditions is the most prominent biological evolutionary example or biological evolution na example na readily mabibigyan mo ng observable distinction. So, example dito, populations adapted to cooler sub-zero temperatures such as the Inuits in the Alaska tend to have broader hips, so mas malalapad na bewang, and short and thick extremities. The idea is, ito yung sample image nila, it reduces surface area, body mass ratio, facilitating heat conservation. So why they become shorter and had broader and thicker extremities is for them to conserve yung heat kasi yung lugar nila ay sobrang lamig. As well as more fat deposits which serves as insulation para sa kanilang katawan. On the other hand, peoples or population adapted to warmer temperatures such as the Australian Aborigines or even sa atin, tayo mismo, tend to have increased skin pigmentation. So, kaya tayo ay merong darker brown skin. It's to better cope with the damaging effects of solar radiation, UV rays. Kaya tayo morena, or even darker skin, it's because yung mas direct yung tama sa atin ng liwanag ng araw or yung rays ng sun, at yun ay pwede mag-cause sa atin ng skin cancer. As an example, nagkaroon tayo ng increased skin pigmentation compared to those countries in the cooler temperatures. Yun yung way natin para hindi tayo mas maapektuhan ng liwanag or sikat ng araw na tumatama sa atin. So, while we won't dig deeper on the biological side, I'm just trying to give an idea kung ano yung biological context when it comes to evolution. It's mainly people adapting their physical features, the genetic features, dun sa lugar kung saan sila lumaki, kung saan sila nag-thrive, saan sila nag-dwell, saan sila nakatira for majority of their lives. Kasi kung matatandaan nyo, ito lang naman last millennia, nagkaroon ng increased, or siguro last 3 centuries, nagkaroon increased migration ng mga tao. For the last 1,000 years, ang mga tao nagsettle sa lugar kung saan sila lumaki. So, then we have cultural evolution. The idea of cultural evolution is, cultural evolution occurs through the development of customs, languages, and involves the transfer of information either within a generation or across many generations. Ito yung pagpapasok ng kultura, mga nakasanayan, at first and foremost, lengguwahe. Any unit of cultural information such as practice or an idea that gets transmitted verbally or by repeated action from one mind to another is called a meme. Opo, meme yung tawag doon. Hindi yung ganitong klase. But the idea is, when we talk about meme before late to 2010s or the dawn of social media, memes are an important part of an integral part of culture itself. Hindi lang siya yung humorous, gaya siguro nito. But memes, in general, are cultural units. Dahil cultural unit ito, kabilang dito yung language, kabilang dito yung customs, such as pagmamano. Yan, that's a meme, a cultural meme. Then, siguro pagsasabi ng po at opo sa atin, Filipino culture, and then other cultural practices na alam natin, or mga customs, taksanayan, gawi. Cultural transmission of learned behavior eliminates the hazards encountered when an individual must learn by trial and error to cope with environmental variables. So, people, kaya pinapasa yung mga gawi or mga nakasanayan is, ito kasi yung mga bagay na subok na malinaw na bahagi ng kanilang pang-araw-araw na buhay. Something that they know that will make ensure their survival. Kasi before, survival is the main reason why people are creating or sharing or transmitting particular customs. Oy, halimbawa, siguro, example lang, ikaw, caveman, or siguro, homo sapien, huwag kang pupunta dun sa kuweba na yon. Why? Kasi yung kuweba na yon, meron leon. Yung leon na yon, kinain yung tito mo. Dahil may karanasan dun sa lugar na kinain siguro yung tito or kumain sino kamag-anak, yung kwentong yun ipapasa sa masusunod na henerasyon na bawal kang pumunta sa kuweba na yan. Kasi yung kuweba na yan, pwede may masamang mangyari sa'yo. Ganun yung ideya ng pagpapasa ng culture. Sa cultural evolution, those things that made them survive through time or ensure their safety and security are passed along as part of their culture. Nowadays, hindi na lang for survival ang pagpapasa ng culture, but to preserve an important aspect of their lives. In our case, yung pagmamano, which is an important form of respect to our elderly, same as po and opo. Moving on, saan ba ito? Language gradually evolved. Ano example? Yeah. What started as puuaa had became complex because we have that ability to process complex information. But just to give an idea, language is the most important, if not the most cultural trait that was passed from one generation to another. It's the most important. Why? Is because it's our means of expressing and communicating with one another. At lahat ng mga kagawi na nakapaloob sa kultura ay maipapasa lang kung merong lengguwahe or language na gagamitin. Halimbawa ito yung mga example ng mga Filipino cultures, tangible or intangible. So lahat yan ay pinasa from one generation to another. So alam mo, ito ay bahay kubo, kalabaw, patintero, yan mga ano. Kung tutusin, ito yung mga Philippine national symbols. And those symbols are part of culture, something that is transmitted from one generation to another. Not only for the sake of survival, but for the sake of preserving what was considered as an important or integral part of the lives from those previous generations. Similarly, the change in lifestyle of modern humans from nomadic hunter-gatherers to permanent settlers who domesticated animals and adopted agricultural practices. Same time, evidences of human culture such as musical instruments, cave paintings, and burial practices can be seen as early Lower Paleolithic period. So, cultural materials or cultural aspects of our lives or historically artifacts that had been dug up by archaeologists na pinapakita na even before na meron tayong konsepto ng kultura in the form of cave paintings. Before, in ways of sharing stories, before dinodraw nila yung kwento, yung mga karanasan nila sa mga kuweba. And ngayon, yung way nilang pag-share ng kwento is pag-share ng kwento is through our Facebook stories or Instagram stories. And fun fact, yung idea ng meme came from Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene. So, did you know that humans have two hereditary systems? A genetic system, which transfers biological information from biological parent to offspring through coding properties of DNA, something that's there, something that's not, can't be changed unless lagyan natin ng other scientific breakthroughs. But the idea is, kung ano yung nasa DNA ng parents mo, chances are yun yung makukuha mo bilang anak nila, offspring. Then, one way, also hereditary, is through cultural system, which transfers cultural information, ideas from speaker to listener, from writer to reader, from performer to spectator, through social interactions. Kung dito sa genetic system, magagaling sa biological parents mo, yung biological information mo or yung DNA mo, kung anong meron ka, usually in physical or physical manifestation. Cultural system naman, yung mga bagay na pwede mong matutunan ay pwede mong makuha through social interactions, by listening, by watching, by playing with them, interacting with them. And lahat ng mga bagay na yun ay bahagi ng tinatawag sabi ni Dawkins, compared the two in his classic book, The Selfish Gene, in which he coined the term meme for the unit of cultural inheritance. Okay, kung dito, DNA, dito, Meme, cultural meme. Meme for the unit of cultural inheritance or cultural evolution, an idea or a concept. So the things that you've learned from your friends or even pagmamano is a meme. So differentiate. Traits can be transmitted to a person only from parents for biological evolution. Wala tayong magagawa dyan. Culture, again, except siguro sa mga scientific breakthroughs, but for now, so far, wala. Cultural evolution can be transmitted to a person by many unrelated people. Kahit hindi mo sila parents, pwede ka may makuha mga cultural information or meme mula sa kanila. Lalo ngayon, that we are hyper-connected with not only our friends, but other people from around the world. Transmission can only be possible from one generation to next. Dito, sa cultural evolution, transmission can be within or between generations and widely separated in time and space. And in our case, even the geographical connections or boundaries ay nawawala kasi ganun ka-powerful internet, ang social media to influence us, to make movements, to create just actions or causes for the common good. So, at the same time, biological evolution occurs at a slow pace, with many generations needed spread a trait widely through a population. So, hindi siya nangyayari at a snap. It will take much more time for them to be at to have that particular genetic trait. Again, that genetic trait can be traced to certain adaptations to their environment. However, cultural evolution occurs at a fast pace. Lalo ngayon, yung mga bagay na uso noon, last month, or 2 months, 5 months, 6 months ago, or last year, hindi na siya readily uso ngayon. Kaya nga napakabilis kung familiar kayo sa kwento niya, nabalita siya last month, si Dante Gulapa. I think na kilala niyo siya, lalo kung may mag-social media. Parang last year, siya ay sikat na sikat. Na-feature pa siya sa Puso Mo, Jessica Soho. At yung kanyang Facebook page ay napakadaming followers. But, last month nga yata yun, na-feature na lahat na naipon niya ay wala na. Parang nabaon pa siya sa utang. Ganong kabilis yung trend eh. He was a trend. He was part of a cultural trend in which pina-follow siya ng mga tao. But because people tend to parang mabilis magsawa pag may certain duration or length lang talaga yung kagustuhan yung tagal mo sa limelight, at pag nalaos ka na, sorry, hantay na iba. Balik tayo kay meaning niya. Okay? But the thing is, ganito, of course, at a fast pace, may involve immediate learning and does not require inheritance. Then traits acquired in a lifetime cannot be fully transmitted. Hindi lahat ng meron parents mo ay may papasa o yung grandparents mo may papasa sa'yo. Hindi ganun yan, hindi 100% yun. Cultural traits can be transmitted within a lifetime by teaching or imitation. And in this case, cultural evolution, pwede matutunan lahat kung gusto mo. Kung gusto magpakabihasa, kung gusto malaman lahat. People can choose what genetic traits to inherit. And for cultural evolution, you have the choice kung ano yung mga gusto mong matutunan, maging bahagi ng kabuuan mo ng konteksto ng pagkatao mo, your idea of self. Then, sa biological evolution, through DNA, dito naman, primarily to written form or spoken language. Hence, napaka-importante na lengguwahe sa cultural evolution.